Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, it is starting to become a tradition. Sunday morning, Texas A&M win, although this one feeling a little bit different. Legendary comeback. I don't think Texas A&M is capable of playing worse football than they did in the first half, Dill. Everything that could have went wrong, it went wrong. Like Marcel Reed looked lost from the jump. The wide receivers could not catch a cold. The defense was missing tackles. Hell, we were even missing field goals, man. There was not a single thing that went right for Texas A&M in the first half. It was an impossibly bad performance. What we are not all that surprised about is this team's competitive character. Like, it's felt really special all year. Know who else wasn't surprised? The Texas A&M fans. Like that's where I want to start, man. There is not a program in the country that has a full stadium in the second half. Texas A&M did. And when Texas A&M became crawling their way back in this football game, though, that environment was straight up special. Like, shout out to Texas A&M fans. They are clearly bought in behind Mike Elko. They are clearly bought in behind this program. I'll just say, Dill, it felt like this all year. This team feels special. It really, really does.
Well, yeah, we really haven't seen them get tested, and that's a testament to what Texas A&M's done. I mean, even the games that I'd say were close never really felt out of hand or even out of Texas A&M's control. Like maybe Notre Dame to an extent, but for them to just like you said, totally rewrite that kind of game flow. Like they were playing so bad, and then they really just started to dominate. And when they put their foot on the pedal, I mean, they just really squished South Carolina.
You're right. That was maybe one of the questions we had was outside of that Notre Dame game. How many times did you see this team back against the wall? They've been so dominant all year. And look, I get they were losing going into half against LSU. They were clearly the better football team, and it was well within striking distance. Still, maybe it got a little hairy on the road against Arkansas. You never felt like Texas A&M was going to lose that game. Back against the wall, rewriting the ship like that. It's rare, man. It's rare. And here's the other thing.
Marcel Reed, because he was really the culprit, I'd say, of most of that first half's problem. Yep. And I saw the people on Twitter were starting to dump.
Man.
Like, oh, yeah, no, I told you. The people who didn't like Marcel Reed at the beginning of the year, who've had to keep themselves a little bit quiet, they were out there. I mean, they were hitting on him pretty hard. And then he came back in like that throw he made to, I think it was KC Concepcion down in like the red zone or a high red zone area. That's like one of the best throws I've ever seen in college football. He was making some huge plays. He stopped making the mistakes. I think that was like a big put up or shut up moment for Marcel Reed in that second half to just be like, well, I don't think you can continue to like criticize him and doubt him. And be
and I'm so happy you noted that right off the bat, because I was just gonna say that there are so many people across the college football landscape that were just waiting for their chance to hate on Marcel Reed, tell him he's not a pro, tell him he ain't that good. And, man, they were coming out. It took them till the back half of November to be able to say these things. But, man, did they let it rip. And then Marcel Reed comes out in the second half. And, hey, that's the cool part if I'm a Texas A&M fan, man. Marcel Reed played his worst football all year in the first half. That was arguably the best version of Marcel Reed we have seen in this kid's career in the second half. That's like Heisman caliber stuff out of him. And he's been playing like a Heisman caliber quarterback all year. That was special. We got a lot to get into and do.
Well, because he really had to do it without a run game at all. And that wasn't like when they wanted to run the ball in the second half, they were able to do it. It's just when you go down 30-3, it's a passing attack from there on out. You got to move the ball quickly.
Totally agree. And you have to give so much credit to Coach Colin Klein. I thought he had a lot of answers for Marcel Reed in the second half. We'll get into that. Dill, the defense, by the way, pitched a shutout. And there were some players that I thought stepped up in a big way. Before we do, and as always, the Texas A&M fans, man, we were both riding with the Aggies yesterday. This fan base has been so supportive to the boys. It's been a blast talking this football team, and the amount of support y'all have shown the fellas been amazing. Appreciate you guys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. And we might have to talk about this game again, maybe Monday or Tuesday. But without further ado, I do want to give you the T-box here. Where do you want to start? I mean, you probably want to start with Marcel Reed. And the thing that I have in my notes that I thought was maybe the coolest, what he was doing pushing the ball down the field. Like, that's been the big bugaboo. And it's been what's been Marcel Reed's inconsistency is, hey, when we have those shots down the field, when those throws are there, we probably haven't hit them at the clip that we want to see Marcel Reed hit him. Though last night he was yesterday afternoon, I should say, 4 or 5 on throws, 20+ yards, starting to answer that question of what he can do pushing the ball down the field.
Well, and the big one was the one to Ashton Bethel-Roman, because that's probably the throw that even when he put it up there in that game, I was like, oh, I'd love to see them come down with that. Yeah. That's been like the type of throw, because he's been really good in that like 20 to 30-ish kind of range. I feel like his mid-range passing has really been big time.
Yeah, 15 to 20. Yeah, agreed.
So it's like, again, I feel like for the most part, he's been able to do it. But those long balls, like those are balls that even in the Notre Dame game, like you probably left a couple of those on the field. And in that sort of moment where they needed to do it, they needed to score quickly in that sort of way. I mean, you put a perfect one to Bethel-Roman, and really good catch, obviously, too. Not an easy catch for Bethel-Roman, but that was kind of the throw that it felt like, all right, this team's going to probably get themselves back. Like he's
yeah, I think that's fair. That might have been the moment where it's like, all right, I think Texas A&M's car on their way back. So Marcel Reed played very, very good, and I mean, he finished with 400. That's by the way, a really good South Carolina defense. Like that offense been bad all year. It's a really, really good defense. It's a really good pass rush. It's a really good secondary. Marcel Reed was really good, really, really good in that second half. The offensive line cleaned it up in a massive way too. I mean, again, Dylan Stewart, Brian Thomas, Nick Baird, that's a unit that can get after the passer. And they kick Trey Zoom back out the tackle. And I think you have to, right?
That's definitely the best version, it feels like, of this A&M team. When Armage is playing right tackle or right guard, and obviously you got Zune at left tackle. And again, like honestly, I think they've been getting good play from Ruben Fothery. Their best is that 5 we saw in the second half, and I presume that's. I mean, I think what they've been doing, I imagine, is kind of trying to rest Armage Reed.
Yes,
I think he's been super.
I think that's what they were trying to do in that game too. I think they were trying to give him 2 weeks. Hey, can we get through this game not playing Armage? Then we're not going to play him next week and have him fully back for Texas at the end of the year. That was a luxury you didn't have to afford. Maybe you can give him a break next week. And I don't blame them for doing that, because you can tell Armage Reed Adams working through an injury, right? Clearly not 100%. What happens if you get that kid back 100%? This offensive line goes to the next level. But I do get like Trey Zune, when you have a legitimate all SEC left tackle, been one of the best left tackles in this conference and in the country, you kind of have to play him left tackle in this conference. You really do. You noted Ashton Bethel-Roman. I love what this kid's turning into, and I know it wasn't perfect in the first half, and even had a drop in the second half too. Just keep giving him looks, man, because he's one of those kids that's getting better every single week. And that's one really cool thing about this team is there's a lot of, backups in reserves, and you weren't sure how much they were going to play this year that are really important to this team. Like, how about Isaiah Williams, redshirt freshman from the state of Florida, coming up massive in the second half. EJ Smith, 6-year running back that was RB5 coming into the season, having to play and coming up with big carries. Damian Sanford, an off-ball backer, starts as a backup, made some massive plays down the stretch.
Kennedy, if you want to throw another guy out there who hasn't played a ton maybe this year, but I thought made some big plays in this game. You are it's a really cool neat team. It's a team that has made big improvements, like player to player, not just as a team. Like you just again, you were so excited about the Mike Elko era. Maybe you didn't know what he could do recruiting. I know that's clearly shut up a lot of people about that. But man, they get these guys better. Like these dudes.
And it's like the player development, but it's also just being ready when your number's called. Like it's hard, man. If I'm an 18-year-old kid and I'm the 5th string guy, I don't know how hard I'm working. I'm probably not. That's probably why I'm in my basement doing this and was never professional. Well, being 5'9", $160 never helped either. But there's a lot of things that I wasn't going pro in, right? But these guys are just, they're ready when they get their number called, which is pretty sweet. I think we talked about it in the intro, but I think this is worth mentioning. Colin Klein, man. It's really hard to move the football when you have to be one-dimensional. And that's kind of what you had to be. You had to throw the football every single time in the second half until you got that lead late. Quick game, neutralizing the pass rush, getting Marcel Reed, who was clearly rattled in the first half, really comfortable. I mean, you flipped the script in the half. This was the worst version of Marcel Reed in the first half. And all of a sudden, you got the best Marcel Reed we've ever seen in the second half as a play caller. Colin Klein deserves his flowers. Marcel Reed is tough, man. That first drive, starting to come back, they're down 30-3. It's 4th and 12, and Marcel Reed nothing's there. He's got to go be an athlete and go pick it up, and he does. They score a touchdown. The rest is history. All right, defense. You mentioned Rylan. I'll say this: like Tyler O, he's playing at an all SEC level right now.
Honestly, did you think the defense pretty much played well for most of this game?
Yes,
I know they gave up a couple of big plays. That ball Lenore Sellers pushed down the sidelines. That's why he had the hype coming into this year. That's just a really hard play to defend. The big one to Nick Harbor at the end of the half was probably the one. I think you hate seeing that. That's a really frustrating play to give up.
That felt like Texas A&M secondary at times last year.
But aside from that, I thought the defense was pretty clear. I thought they were put in horrible spots, obviously, with the turnovers. I thought they stood tall for the most part and kept Texas A&M in the fight.
And what's tricky we talked about a little bit, but probably should have talked about more, was you had a brand new play caller, right? It was coming off a bye. And so you saw some differences. I mean, one, you saw a different offensive line rotation. You saw a lot of 2 running back sets. You saw some design runs that we haven't really seen from Lenore's yet. We obviously saw some wrinkles that they had in their bag. They had, coming out of a bye week, new offensive play call. They had some time to inject some different concepts and personnel groupings and wrinkles and plays that they wanted to get to. And it worked at times in the first half. And again, that's how you know. How do you know you have an elite coaching staff? Is, all right, number one, do you have a good game plan coming in? And maybe Texas A&M didn't. But the bigger test to me is always how do you in-game adjust? Texas A&M continues to crush that. We talk about the strength and conditioning, how this team clearly looks like the best team in the fourth quarter. That's true. But on the flip side of that, this coaching staff just gets better as the game goes on. They figure out answers, and that, as you get into SEC championship play and you get into playoff play, that stuff matters. The margin's thin, and coaching staffs can win you football games. Any other names that you want to drop before we close this one out?
I mean, you still probably got to go to Torian and Damien. And I maybe not the greatest first half from those two. Not a bad first half, I wouldn't say. But
agreed.
I mean, they're just – I think you've kind of found your duo, and they really probably shouldn't be coming off the field at all, because they both, Torian York, he feels to me like a guy who's gotten more athletic. He feels like he's covering a lot more ground. There were a couple plays to the boundary. I was like, I wouldn't have thought Torian York is making those last year. I think he's taken a huge step. And even another guy who has played really well for most of his career, big improvements over this year. Kind of a slow start for him. I think the fact that he's really nailed it in, I think there's been big time for this A&M defense.
Yeah,
he's playing.
It's cool to have one of these games and come out winning, right? Because and Mike Elko said this in the press conference, this sport's going to humble you if you don't come out ready and you don't prepare the right way. Clearly, Texas A&M did not. You get a taste of what it feels like to have your back completely against the wall. And I guess what I'm trying to say is that Texas A&M now is going into the most important part of the season, which is postseason play, knowing they can win any game they're in, right? That matters. I think that's really cool. This is a team that feels ready to do some damage as we get into the back half of November, December, and January. We'll close it out. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.